Somehow we believe that it has to be hard work. And I'm going to tell you, even though I'm telling you that you need to grind to be able to accomplish something and get yourself out of balance, it doesn't have to be hard. We've associated somewhere in our minds that hard means it's going to get done. That's not true. We can manifest things without it being hard. We can manifest things by allowing it to come. Don't confuse sitting on the couch eating, a bag of chips, watching Netflix, and just saying, I want $1 million and it's going to appear. That's not the way it works. But you can put the intention into the universe with clarity. This is what I want. I want to be doing X, X, and X, making X, 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 and X by this date, and allowing the universe to have it unfold the way it needs to unfold for you. And the way you need to do that, I believe, is by keeping yourself in the right vibration and to be grateful and happy for where you are and want the next thing.
Today's guest, Rob Murgatroyd, has not only put into the work to find true fulfillment, but he has helped countless others do the same. Rob is a former multi-seven-figure earning chiropractor turned lifestyle entrepreneur. He left his medical practice after 25 years, lived internationally for 4 months, and then relocated to his dream home in California with his wife and daughter. Along with being a coach, he has been considered the ultimate authority on regret management and is a top 200 iTunes podcaster with his hit show, Work Hard, Play Hard. On his podcast, he interviews fascinating people around the science of achievement and the art of fulfillment. He also creates experiences around the globe for 6- and 7-figure entrepreneurs that get them out of their day by day and 10 times their businesses. Okay, Rob, thank you so much for being on the show today. I'm so honored to share the space with you. And actually, I've interviewed some of your close friends. Some of my favorite interviews are with your close friends. And I've actually been wanting to have you on for a long time because I believe, the people you surround yourself really make a big impact in our lives. And I think you could completely agree. And so I know from the people I've interviewed that are remarkable, I know you yourself are remarkable. So I'm just so happy to share the space with you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. They're probably more remarkable than I am, but thank you.
No, I highly doubt it, but I'm just so honored.
Who did you interview that we both know?
So Chris Harder, let's see, Christine Hassler, Stefano.
Love.
Yeah, I still need Lori Harder on. I don't even know why I haven't even pursued her yet, but I've met her. I love her and adore her, and just such a good group of people.
Do you know that I was on Christine and Stefano's first date? Do you know that?
Yes. And I think that is just, yes, that was on was it your first mastermind that you put together for Work Hard, Play Hard?
It was. She had reached out and she said, "Hey, I'm in California," and I started sort of quote unquote dating a guy from Australia. And Christine was coming to one of my events, and she said, "Hey, do you mind if I bring him?" And I was like, "No, cool." So one morning, we got to the beginning of the event, and it was at before the event started, it was at a lunch in the Greek island of Mykonos. And I remember it was at a restaurant called Pharma. It was right on the water, and as I pulled up to the restaurant, I saw Christine, and she was on the rocks, and I walked over to say hi, and she had just walked up to say hello to Stefanos, who just landed. And I did not know that they were, quote, dating over the internet, but never met each other. And
wow.
In that moment, they met each other. Now, wait for this. My dad passed a few years ago, and he was a diver. He loved the ocean. So my mom said, "Hey, can you spread Dad's ashes over the Aegean when you're there?" They were sitting on the rocks that I spread my dad's ashes the previous year. So it was just this crazy thing. And then to bring this to wrap it in a bow, last year I helped the two of them plan a wedding in Greece at the same location.
Oh, wow. So remarkable and so much
Crazy.
meaning for you as well as them. They're such a beautiful couple. I absolutely adore them. Such a privilege to speak with them and to hear that story that they met that way and it's fairy tale from there on. That's so
Yeah.
great. Oh, wow. Well, so let's talk about you. Let's talk about your story. So, for those that don't know you, I would love if you could share what life was like before you actually transitioned into doing the work hard, play hard, and actually living a life of fulfillment. I know your background, your career was something that you actually decided to walk away from, even though you were very successful in it. So, if you could tell us a little bit about that life before we talk about everything that has led into today.
Yeah, sure. I mean, basically, I was a chiropractor for the better part of going on 25 years, and after the first probably 10 years or so, I started getting this feeling like this was once a calling for me. This was once something that I loved, but I was starting to not love it anymore. And I reconciled in my mind, I had so much money in student loans. I had built this practice that was very successful. I didn't work that many hours. The work was certainly not digging ditches. I made a lot of money. What was my problem? Like, why, was I ever going to be happy? And as those additional 15 years moved on, it got worse and worse and worse. And it got to the point where I was just so unfulfilled and so looking to do something else, but felt so trapped by the fact that I had built this thing and I had patience and it wasn't that bad, but it wasn't that good. But I really wanted to be somewhere else and I didn't want to start all over again. And I was just vacillating back and forth. And then a couple of years ago, my wife said to me, "Look, I can't take it anymore. Like, you are not happy. You don't love this. It's time for you to do something that lights you up, something that you're passionate about." And you would think that, if you have a $1 million practice, that you could just sell $1 million practice. It doesn't work that way. New docs coming out of school are buried in debt, and it is very difficult for them to get a loan for that amount. And typically, they know that they're so new. The banks know that they're going to crash it when I leave. They're not good enough yet, and patients are there because of me, because they have a relationship with me, et cetera. So the new doc wasn't an option. The established doc would say, "Well, look, why am I going to pay you $1 million? I'll just open my own office." And so it wasn't
Mm-hmm.
easy to sell. So I was like, okay, I want to get out now and I can't get out. But do I just stay in because I can't sell it? Do I just walk away from it? And I really had to like start looking at what was important. And then we hit a point where we said, look, I don't know if we're going to sell it, if we're not going to sell it. But here's what I do know. I do know that on December 31st, we're done. We are going to hang a gone fishing sign on the door, whether it's sold to somebody else or it's shut down, one or the other. We're walking. And when that line was drawn in the sands, I knew that it was for real and I had to find a way to replace my income and do it with something this time that I was passionate about. And and then that became part two, which we can talk about.
Yeah. Well, I think what's the most important thing that happened that really transformed your life was making that decision. Like, enough is enough. I'm not happy. Time to really make the move and make the decision now.
You
So,
got
I
it.
would love if you could kind of explain, like, how, because that's hard. I mean, I think you were doing it, am I right? 25 years, 20 years or
Yeah,
so?
25.
So obviously you committed most of your life, a good portion of your life, to this career. And a lot of people, I think, especially in the past year, are confronted with, oh, maybe it's time I make a career move because either my career is now obsolete or because the conditions of the world today, I can't make what I used to make. So now they're confronted, I need to make a big change. But it's scary. We all have a fear of the unknown. So the fact that you made the decision December 31st, I'm going to hang up a sign regardless if I don't sell it or not. is a big move. And I
Yep.
think there are people that are confronted with this decision, like, what do I do? I've been in this so long. How do I make the big jump and per se burn the boats and just go all in on, creating a life of fulfillment? So how did you really make that decision and then take the action towards it? Like what immediately changed?
Well, I think everybody has a different approach to what the best way to do this is for them. Some people need to jump out of the airplane and build the parachute on the way down, and that's the way that they operate. Some for everybody, it's a bit different. For me, I knew that I had a 6 month time. I knew I had 6 month runway to be able to accomplish this thing. So I sat down, and my wife and I have coined this phrase, and we call the phrase stupid idea time. And so we sit there and we have a whiteboard and we just play stupid idea time. What
Hmm.
is, and stupid idea time is not to call yourself stupid. It's to give you permission to come up with bad ideas so that you can explore good ideas. Because very often we operate within the confines of whatever box of possibility we're in, and we're only listing out things that we think we can accomplish, as opposed to brainstorming possibility, even though
Mm.
it seems a little bit out of your reach. So we had built a network marketing business prior in the prior years. My wife and I did, and we used that to serve as a base. It wasn't, millions of dollars, but it was enough that, we weren't going to live in a cardboard box. If push came to shove, we'd be able to have enough income coming in to cover overhead, which is a blessing for sure. But it wasn't much more than that. It wasn't, where we would be able to live in the house that we want and travel the way we're used to, et cetera. So I knew that I needed to replace this income. So I sat down and I thought about, well, what are all of the things that I love? What are all of the things I'm passionate about? And what are the things I'm good at? So, for example, I'm good at chiropractic, but I'm not passionate about it anymore. So
Mhm.
that didn't work, right? I am passionate about music, but you don't want to see me sing or dance. Okay, it's not pretty. So it's finding that balance between what you're good at and what you're passionate at, and what the market says there's a product associated with. And for me, it wound up being a few different things. And those things were, I love people. I love having conversations like this. I love interviewing people. So that sounds like a podcast. Okay, let's do a podcast, right? Did that. I love travel. I love entrepreneurship. I love waking people up to their life by providing experiences for them that they would never know how to do on their own, and putting them together with entrepreneurs in those environments. And all these pictures that you see behind you are the
I
result of
noticed.
that. And there's this is in the south of France. This is me and Chris, and this guy's got a $200 million company. This guy's got a $400 million
Hmm.
company. I don't know if you know who Kayla Kraft is. That is
Yeah.
Chase Kraft. That's Kayla's husband. She owns a company called Mommy Millionaire.
Oh,
So
yes. Yeah.
I I loved putting together entrepreneurs like that. Now that conversation in this photo that I showed you is us sitting in the south of France, having a glass of, well, it's four men with rosé, so don't judge us. But all of us having a glass of rosé in the water. Now, why is that important? It's important because that is now my job. This, what you and I are doing, is now my job. What was my job? Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it wasn't working for me anymore. What was my job was being confined to the room that I was in with my adjusting table, and having one more person for the 50 trillionth time tell me my neck hurts, my back hurts, my neck hurts, my back hurts. And I
And
couldn't do
that's
it
all you
anymore.
got
So
all the time.
That's all I got all the time for 25
Yeah.
years. I mean, I
Yeah.
can count Monday morning that the 15 people that are waiting for me in my waiting room are going to say some version of that topic.
Right.
So once we played Stupid Idea Time and we said, okay, podcast, mastermind, but different, not a mastermind in the back of a hotel room, a mastermind in the south of France, where before we got there, I had helicopters waiting for them in Nice that helicoptered them into Monaco for that event, like high end, fun, crazy stuff. That lights me up. I'm passionate about that because I know that the conversation that we have in that water is going to be completely different than the conversation we'd have in the back of a hotel room in Hoboken, New Jersey. So, to answer the question, you can tell I'm passionate about that. I'm passionate about podcasting. And now we're rolling into other products for people that are trying to figure out what to do at this stage of their life. They know they're made for more, but they don't know what it is. They don't know how to do it. So that's that section of it.
Yeah, and I think that's really important to pull out is so many people don't know how to figure out like what's the next thing when they're so tied to a lot of people their identity is tied to the career they do. So when that career is stripped, they're like, "Oh, like who am I?" right? And
That's right.
so to discover what's this new thing that actually will bring me fulfillment and joy. And I think based on the last year, a lot of people came to this realization they're not happy in the career. They're ultimately, even though they're good at it, it's not what brings them fulfillment. So what we're, besides doing the stupid idea time, which I love that idea. I love that idea of plain, like
Stu-
just being free to write whatever stupid idea that doesn't seem possible, but actually will probably give you light bulbs. Oh, maybe it's achievable. So let's talk about the art of fulfillment. So that's what I would really like to focus on because success, the ultimate failure, or sorry, what is it? The success, what's the saying I'm looking for? I know you know this saying, to be successful, the biggest, oh my gosh, I'm like going blank. Oh my goodness.
It's
You
gonna
know this saying.
it's gonna come to you. I feel it. It's
You
coming
know
to
this
you.
saying.
I'm
The
sending it to you
ultimate
right
failure
now.
of the ultimate failure of success is not being fulfilled or something along the lines of that. And
Okay.
I
Yep.
completely agree. So how do we actually like what's the right questions we should be asking ourselves to live a fulfilled life?
Well, I think part of baked into that question is maybe a presupposition that shouldn't be there. For example, I don't know that it's actually the question that you ask more than it is the feeling that you get. So it's very easy okay, let's look at it this way. You have the art of fulfillment and you have the science of achievement. if
Mm-hmm.
if I said, if I said to you, "Hey, Erica, let's go make money in real estate." You and I are going to sit down and we're going to go, "Okay, what house should we buy? Where should we buy it? What's the market? What can we flip it? What can we put it? Blah blah blah." It's very mathematical. It's very scientific. It's there's a process, there's a plan. It's not that way when it comes to fulfillment. How do you quantify what it feels like for me riding my skateboard down the Strand here in Hermosa? I like that. Like, what is that like for somebody else? They would have no interest in that. What does it feel
Mm-hmm.
like, when I'm out there for the first time surfing a wave and riding that wave? What does it feel like the first time I land at an event and this idea that I had for this event in Monaco, and I'm getting texts from people saying, "Oh my God, I just got into the helicopter. I have chills. Like this is the best experience of my." How do you quantify that? It's very hard, and so there's an art that's associated to it. It's kind of like, forgive this, but the Supreme Court judge once had before him, I can't remember his name. I think it was Berger, who he had to identify what pornography was. Imagine having to do that. Like, how do you
Mm-hmm.
identify that? And his answer was brilliant. His answer was, "I know it when I see it." And it was the best answer I ever heard because it totally relates to this. You know when you are lit up. You
Right.
know when you love it. For example, there was a period of time where I said, "I'm going to open 10 offices in 10 years. I'm going to extract myself from chiropractic, and I'm just going to have those offices run and make money. Except I didn't want employees. I didn't want a brick and mortar office. I did not want to manage. I did not want to train. It sounded like a great idea, but it wasn't something that I was passionate about. So the answer is whatever it is that you're coming up with, be very careful not to have premature practicality. In other words, you say, well, I'm good at this. I think it can make money, so why not? Bad question. The question is to ask yourself, if you did ask yourself a question, it would be this question. What if it works? What if it works? What if what you want and you think is the next great thing for you works? What does your day-to-day look like? Right? What do your weekends look like? What do your evenings look like? What do your time off look like? What does it look like when you're in hitting the wall kicking moments and getting frustrated? For example, when I was in the chiropractic practice and I was, billing insurance companies and they were not reimbursing, it was more of a, why am I even doing this? Like this is so frustrating. When I first got out of practice, they paid what I did, and then new healthcare laws come in, and I'm not getting paid anymore, and it makes me want to just quit and leave and say I hate it. When I am up against COVID in a travel business, and I have to
Yeah.
continually cancel events, I don't care because I know this is gonna go away. And we are going to do the next event, and I will knock through the walls to get myself to go to the next event because I freaking love it. And I
Yeah.
can't, it's a blip for me as opposed to a full stop, it's over. You see the difference?
Absolutely. Like you're driven. You have your big why, your compelling why of why you're doing it, why you're in it to win it, and you're not giving up on the idea, even though you might be halted by it. I think that's really important that we have to really get connected to like, why are we doing this? Why are we going after this? I think that's super important. And
That's right.
also see your vision for
That's
what
right.
you would like to create. Uh, Another thing so for the people that I know, you came from a very successful career and you probably had some, savings, a way to be able to take time to build a new career. For those that don't have that, that are basically just making ends meet and they can't lose that income, how could they still pursue with full force their side hustle while maintaining the income that that they have coming in? Because I don't believe we should ever dabble in things. We have to go full force. But for those that need that extra income, what do you suggest they do to be able to achieve their ultimate transition into this new career?
Yeah, it's a great question. So just to be clear, it's easy to write off this story if you're listening to it and not see yourself in it because they're saying, he was making $1 million a year. Poor him. He probably had a bunch of cash and he did just fine. It's easy for him. Don't be confused by that. I Look, I'll be 55 years old this year. There is a certain level of life that I have grown accustomed to living. I did not want to drop that level down at all. So for me, I know it may seem like poor me, but for me, I did not want to make a dollar less than I was making because everything in my life was around that income. So I would take this
Mhm.
I'd have to go dramatically backwards in order to do it. So I felt the same pressure, maybe not exactly the same, but you get the idea, as somebody
Yeah.
who is going, I don't have any money. I felt for me, it was like, I get it, but I'm going to lose all my income now, and I've got to figure out a way to replace it, right? Okay. So, with that said, the advice that I would give to the person who falls into that category, don't quit your day job. That would be the first advice that I would give. The second advice would be to do what I did, which is to do two businesses simultaneously and do what you have to do until you can do what you want to do, right? So I was developing x-rays in the x-ray room and enrolling people in my masterminds. I
Mm.
was doing podcast interviews on the mornings that I didn't see patients. I was creating sales pages for my events and brainstorming what that would look like while I was still a chiropractor. The point is, I was doing both because I had to. I had to be able to find a way to transition out of chiropractic and into this thing. And when December 31st came around and it was gone, all my income, I needed a new income to replace it. So I spent 6 months doing two businesses at the same time, knowing that one would drop off.
Okay, so how do we avoid the burnout? How do we, of the hustle, the constant hustle, how do we avoid that? Or what did you do to avoid the burnout? It's
You have a
different, I think,
timeline.
for,
You have a timeline, and
uh-huh.
well, I was
No,
going
go
to say that
ahead. Yeah.
there's a book. You'll have to Google it in the show notes. You have to find it and put it in the show notes. It's called Off Balance,
Off
and
balance.
the book basically, yeah, it's called Off Balance. The book basically says that when you are trying to when you're trying to do anything in life, there is no balance. It doesn't exist. For example, if I say, I'll answer your question this way. If I say I have a wife, I have a daughter, and I will be home at 6 o'clock every single day to have family dinner. That's my commitment, right? That's my balance. That's the husband I'm gonna be, and that's the father I'm gonna be. But then one day I come home and I get a flat tire. I
Mhm.
can't be with my family because I have to have the tow truck fix the tire so I can get home to be with my family. That example permeates thousands of different scenarios in our life. There are many, many things that throw our workout schedule off, that throw our romantic life off, that throw. So the point is that what we want to do is acknowledge that this isn't forever. I'm not going to be doing two jobs forever. I am doing this for the greater good, that on December 31st, I want to make sure my family is taken care of. So I am going to burn out for 6 months so that I can have the life that I want. Because if I don't do it, then what's going to happen is I'm going to give up my income. December 31st is going to roll around. I'm going to have no new income, and I'm going to have to work as a chiropractor for somebody else to make an income.
Mhm.
And that doesn't make sense. So for me, I don't know that you can magically just avoid the hustle and avoid the grinds for something bigger. At some point, there is a price that needs to be paid. That doesn't mean do this for 10 years. It means do it for a period of time that you know, hey, honey, I got to do this thing. I need your support. I need you to help me
Yeah.
because we're going to be so much better. And then for us, it was around having a carrot at the end of the goal. So the carrot for us was December 31st. Two things are going to happen. Thing number one is we're going to spend 4 months, we start our new life. We're going to spend 4 months living in Florence, Italy. And then we're going to move from Atlanta, Georgia, where we're living, to sunny Southern California, where we are now. So we literally left Atlanta January 1st, effectively, went to Italy 4 months, and then moved to California. So
Mhm.
that drive, that vision board of all of this that we had that was hanging in our kitchen, that we looked at every single
Love that.
night passionately, we worked together and we were willing to knock down walls and grinds for a short period of time to have what we wanted.
Yeah, and I think that's important is to know that it's only going to be temporary, but you need to do the hard work to get there. Nothing is achieved through, as I mentioned, dabbling. So you need to do the hard work. I completely agree. And I heard you talk about that you've set things up to run itself, like automate things to run itself and also creating multiple streams of income. So what are some of those things that you
Yeah.
did and what would you suggest for other people so that they could do more of what they love?
Well, I think what's important is that you recognize that if somebody can do something, um, if you can hire somebody to do something about 80% or so as good as you can, then it's worth it to hire the person. So, for example, um, it is very easy to say, well, nobody can do it like me, so I'm just going to do it. And then you wind up doing everything. So everything in my life, I look through the lens of outsourcing. Right now, I'm
Mm.
working on a course. I have hired somebody who's an expert in Kajabi. I have a virtual assistant. I have somebody that is editing my video podcast, somebody that is editing my audio podcast. I have a social media person that's putting it all up, doing the show notes, and I can go on and on and on. It's all
Yeah.
managed through Slack. But the point is that all I want to do is high value tasks, like sitting here having a conversation with you. And I want all of the magic to happen for me behind the scenes. Now, that's sort of top level, but underneath that, there are different businesses. Like I mentioned earlier, we have a network marketing business. Network marketing, we don't have to go into the conversation here, but basically, when you build this thing up, you're starting to generate residual income. And we started it 4 or 5 years ago. We haven't stopped. My wife runs it now, and she's putting in, I don't know, maybe 10 hours a week, somewhere in that range. And it is like when we were in Italy, she just stopped doing network marketing, and the checks just kept coming in. That's a version of automated. When I do my podcast, and on my podcast, I have a commercial or a bumper, however you want to rephrase it, that is driving people to applications for my events. I just wake up in the morning and there's an application where I have to do a phone call with somebody who wants to come on our next event. So everything that I do, and this new course that we're working on now will have Facebook ads. So the Facebook ads will drive traffic to the sales page, which will be automated, and they'll go into the course. So there's network marketing, there's the mastermind, there's the courses. All of this is done by somebody else other than me, and the income is all automated.
It's incredible. Yeah. And I think that everybody could get there. It just takes looking at it like, okay, if I could spend my quality time personally connecting with people and building and speaking about it, and then that will drive the more, more revenue, and then have somebody else automate
Yeah.
it. That would be absolutely wonderful. Another thing I want to touch on is your work hard, play hard mastermind, because I believe play is essential. I believe adventure is essential. I believe stepping outside your comfort zone is essential. So why did you decide as well that this was the way to mastermind, and how has it really been received by others? And just tell us a little bit more about it, why it was something that you decided to birth and get other people to join you on.
Well, I'll give you two frames to look into. The first frame is the why. The second frame is the what. Right? What we're doing there. So the first one, the why, is if I was sitting with you in an event and I was sitting next to you, you and I wouldn't be chatting much. We might have a bit of a breakout session that we can do. We could brainstorm each other's businesses for 20 minutes, under some guided thing. Then we'd go to the hotel bar at night, maybe have a glass of wine, try and catch up and, on the day. Then on a lunch break, I'd say, hey, Erica, I got a question. I noticed that you did this thing. Can I ask you? And it would all be these little moments that we try and fit in with 30 or 40 other people who are doing the same thing. And it dawned on me one day that the magic that happens, the thing where I have learned the most, has come from sitting at the pool at the hotel pool, having a conversation with somebody in the event, going to the bar, having lunch, or after the events through social media or on Zoom or something like that. And they said, well, what if I were to do an event that was just around that, where there was really no formalized instruction? Some, but mostly it was natural collisions. And so I started to brainstorm different ideas. And I said, okay, well, what if I were to do it based around experiences? So, for example, what if I took, Chris and Lori Harder, to use the example that we used earlier, what if I took them to the Red Sox batting cages and we had a batting contest against each other? And then that night, I hired a guy who wrote a book called How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci, that we rented, an Italian restaurant in the north end of Boston. And he taught us about how Da Vinci thought about things. And we did a wine tasting where we compared, like Da Vinci did, where we compared one wine to another, which is how you truly understand something. And then at the end of it, we had a poetry contest. And so I brainstormed all these crazy ideas and put them together into an event.
Hmm.
And then I said, well, what if we went to Italy and we took them to the hills of Tuscany and we went truffle hunting with a dog, and then we went to an Italian grandma's villa, and she taught us how to cook
Oh,
pasta.
that's
Um, and, and then we went to Monaco, and I said, what if we were to rent vintage cars where we went through the French Riviera in Rolls Royces and Maseratis from the 60s and 70s, and then we did a goal setting session in a castle? What if the next day I had speedboats waiting for them and we went to Saint Tropez and we went and partied in Saint Tropez? And so what happens was it worked, and everybody connected. They were in a different states. When you are in a different state, you are vibing differently than you have that post, lunch where you're falling asleep in an event and trying to,
yeah.
have coffee and keep yourself. You're in a different state. So what became a side effect that I didn't think about is they are all working with each other and collaborating in businesses together, this group that I put together. I mean, it's crazy how, like, one person that was the speaker is now sitting on the board of the event. One person that started this company is now starting another company with this person. They didn't know each other. They had no idea who they were, because like attract like. They were
Yeah.
interested in travel. They were interested in entrepreneurship, and they grew together. And
Just
now I'm
naturally.
doing
Yeah.
naturally, now I'm doing a higher level event, which will be sometime. I'm going to be flying out to a private islands um, as soon as COVID lifts a little bit. But basically, what I'm going to be doing is for people who have big exits coming, like $100 million, $200 million exits, or people who have just had an exit. Um, they still have life left in them, and they go
Hmm.
into depression because they don't know
True.
what to do. They have a ton of cash, and they're bored. So I'm going to put them together in a think tank on a private island, and kind of like a Richard Branson thing, and we're going to
That's a
brainstorm what their
show.
next big gig is.
That's
Yeah,
a
it
show
could be.
idea. Yeah,
Yeah, it could
that's
be.
a great idea. And I think you're so correct in saying, I think that's brilliant because a lot of people that are doing big exits, that they were again tied to that identity of the job and the career they built for themselves and their business. And then once that's gone, it's like, they feel like a part of them's left, and they don't know what
You know, I'll
next. So
tell
I
you.
think that's brilliant.
I'll tell you this: wealthy people are some of the most safe people out there. You think that they're, sort of like edgy and risky. They're not. They are really, really good at making money, but they're quite timid about losing it. Not all. Some are. They're worried about losing it. They're not into a lot of adventure. They're very
Mm,
risk averse. So putting them in these environments, even though they have a ton of cash. Look, here's the thing: when you hit a point where you love what you do, most of the people in my mastermind love, love, love what they do. They are not the beginning group, which is the one I talked about earlier, where they know that they're made for more, but they don't know what that is. These are people
mm,
who know that they love what they do. Guess what they do? They do it all the time. And you can't get them out of their house. You can't get them out of off the stage writing the book. All they want to
right.
do is the podcast. I got to drag Lewis Howes. I got to drag Chris and Lori Harder. I got to drag Christine Hassler and go, I get it. You love what you do, but let's do something else so that when you
Yeah.
come back to what you do, you have a new chapter in your book.
I
And they
love that.
get it. Intuitively, they understand it.
I love that. I think that's so essential. And I think anytime somebody tries something new, they'll gain something from it, regardless. Either they'll love it or they'll not like it and it does nothing, but they've experienced it. Now they feel like, oh, I've lived life a little bit more. So I think
Yep.
that's
Yep.
great. And I know you touched on balance, and it sounds like so you don't believe there is such a thing as balance in life.
Doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. It's funny because I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth because my event is work hard, play hard, and the
Right.
implication is you're going to work 50% and 50% you're going to play. That's not how it works. You are going to be out of balance with everything you do. I am going to be, if I was in a relationship with you, I would be the greatest husband in the world. And if we had a child, I would be the greatest dad in the world until I wasn't. And then I would be overweight because of me not taking care of what I need to be taken care of. And my focus would shift to going to the gym more and watching what I eat and being careful about that. And then my business would go down and I need to focus on that. And then I got to come back to the relationship. There's too many areas of our life to be perfectly in balance with every single area all the time, no matter what. We're not robots. We are going to go through emotions and challenges and put our focus here for a prolonged period of time. And that plate that was spinning here is going to start not spinning as fast. And so you got to move it. So it's your ability to understand what are the 3 or 4 things that you want to put your priorities on. And for me, it's it's my health, it's my family, it's fitness, it's spirituality, it's contribution. Those are 3 or 4 things. It's kind of it. You can't put it into everything all the time.
Yeah.
So you're going to be out of balance.
Yeah. And I think as long as we're having progress in our life, especially in those core areas of our life that we want to improve, I think then we're on at least the right track.
Yep.
So I know you have a hard stop, so I want to honor your time. But if I were to ask you, if you were to write a book and you were going to put on the first page the best piece of advice for those that want to live in ultimate fulfillment, to whatever they define in fulfillment, what would you recommend? What would you leave with them?
Do more of the things you love and less of the things you don't.
It sounds so simple.
It is. It really is. I mean, think about that. Like, let's dig into that. And I've got I can go about 8 to 10 minutes.
Okay.
Think about all of the things that if you are living a life of the things that you love to do, and that is your life, even if you pop in your brain, yeah, but what if I don't make a lot of money at it? If you're spending your day doing the things that you absolutely love to do, you're going to have an amazing life. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You froze.
Yeah. I know exactly. Sorry. But yes, absolutely. I mean, you're in the moment living a life that is least joyous to you. Yeah,
That's right.
absolutely.
And
I think,
somehow we believe that it has to be hard work. And I'm going to tell you, even though I'm telling you that you need to grind to be able to accomplish something and get yourself out of balance, it doesn't have to be hard. We've associated somewhere in our minds that hard means it's going to get done. That's not true. We can manifest things without it being hard. We can manifest things by allowing it to come. Don't confuse sitting on the couch eating, a bag of chips, watching Netflix, and just saying, I want $1 million and it's going to appear. That's not the way it works. But you can put the intention into the universe with clarity. This is what I want. I want to be doing X, X, and X, making X, 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 and X by this date, and allowing the universe to have it unfold the way it needs to unfold for you. And the way you need to do that, I believe, is by keeping yourself in the right vibration and to be grateful and happy for where you are and want the next thing. So I want a house that is overlooking the ocean. I can sit here now and bitch about the fact that I don't have that. My house does not see the water. What's that going to do? All it's going to do is lower my vibration and not allow me to vibrate at the level I need to vibrate on to attract the house. So I have to love where I am right now and be so grateful for what I have. And, by the way, excited about the next house that's going to be looking at the ocean.
mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Like you talked about the vision board to see where I think having clarity of your vision is probably one of the most important things. Like, you need to define fulfillment for you. What does it look like? Because it's different for everybody. And it's not about having all this money. There's so much more to life than money. It's relationships. It's obviously doing play and enjoying the moment for what it is, whatever that means to you. And I started the podcast talking about relationships, the people that that I've interviewed that are good friends of yours. And I think relationships are so important. So how could you, what would you recommend to people to get in the environment with the right people to lead them to a life of better fulfillment as well? Because I think relationships also play a big part in creating the life you want.
Look, you've heard this before. You the average of the 5 people you hang with. If you're not hanging with people that are lifting you up, then you've got to find a new tribe.
Yeah. Agree. Absolutely agree. Well, there's so much goodness in this episode. I know that it's so needed for people right now, and it's a new year, and we could create a new vision for our life and actually live in fulfillment, because now it's not just about making ends meet. It's about actually being happy in the life we're living. So Rob, thank you so much. This has been such an honor. Sorry for all the freezing in this. I don't even know what's going on. Darn Zoom.
That's okay.
But thank you so much. I appreciate your time. Such an honor. And thank you for all you're doing. You're really making a difference in people's lives. And I think so many people need to live life with more joy and fulfillment. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.